Well, hello there, everybody. How are y'all doing? We are doing fine. In fact, we were rapping and we were listening to the Beatles and,
Mhm.
we just have a party here. So I said, well, do you think we ought to bring everybody else in it? And Jenny was telling us of a quite a story, and I said, "Well, I guess if we don't, then
Mm.
who else will they be able to come in and listen to?" So there we are. I can see that we are live, and let me get that there as the bus pulls out. And I can assure you, we cleaned the bus up, and so it's sanitized, and we got the incense going, and anyway, it's a
The
groovy place.
vibes are high.
The vibes are high. So we just want to speak favor collectively over all of us. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And because we're going to be talking about, ladies, it's just becoming so wow, overwhelming is the rhetoric and the vitriol of the media and the narrative of invoking fear, which then proceeds to lead to hate, and then hate leads to fear. And that is the message. If you're on this side, well, then this side hates you. If you're on that side, then this side hates you. It's even happening in Christianity. I mean, there's like this huge freaking schism taking place. But anyway, I digress. Uh, Welcome, everyone. I know that was a long intro, but it's all right.
Mhm.
It's good. I can see everyone in the chat room. We love you. Hey, CJ, it's early in the morning down there in Australia. Saw
Grand
that
Rising.
cyclone, right?
Yeah.
Grandpa Brian, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Chloe, hello. Emperor Rex, New Yoda, and John, and everybody else. So, ladies, how are you all? How has your week? Jenny, and I don't know if you want to let everyone else know. I mean, that took me a little bit by surprise, but I'll
Yeah,
start with you. How are you doing?
so I'm good. I'm a tad sore, but I'm good. So I had a biopsy, but I wasn't expecting that today. I just thought it was another test today. So yeah, but it's all good. It's just how I was born. So they're just checking up on things and seeing how what needs to come next. So that happened, but I did come home and thought, I'm gonna get ready for tonight. I'm gonna dye my hair. And it's turned completely the wrong color. So I'm turban.
I
I'm
love it.
I'm done in the turban again. So yeah, I'm good. It's all good. I've
You got
got
that
more
certain
dye.
je ne sais quoi look. It's rather sexy. That's what I'm
Uh,
talking about. I mean, wasn't that the look like back in the 40s and the 50s? I mean, that
with
was,
the knot. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But
Mm.
I don't know if you want to. Do you want Trina? You speak first because I was going to say what happened in the waiting
Yeah,
room, but
hold that because it's interesting. The very first
yeah,
thing on the head of my notes, of course, y'all can't see those notes,
I
is
can
that
see.
let's enter into the forest because I was outside working all morning and just hugging the trees, and my neighbor looked at me across the street most early, but I didn't care. And that was what I wanted to do first thing right off the bat. And I said, let's invite the Mother Goddess in and invite your spirit guides in. But what you had to say is so weird. But Trina, I'll let you pick it up before we go into the forest.
Well, I was just wanting to hear more about that purple crystal because that was just amazing. That
Yeah.
was it was amazing. I when she said that I was covered with the chills from head to toe because I've been focusing on that.
And
Remember,
Jenny,
remember
did the
your
crystal
vision?
kind of go up like this? Did it?
No,
Yeah, it's a
well,
big
I was.
column like a tree trunk almost, and it
Yeah,
goes and it
yes,
goes
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
kind of like this, Wayne.
yeah,
Venus seeing it,
yeah,
yeah, just
yeah.
like that, but sort of half buried in the ground, so it's much
Yes,
bigger than it is emerged.
yes.
Um,
I
I
really,
like
wonder
that.
really,
too, Jenny, if it's crystal like this.
it's mixed, yeah, it's mixed. So it's
Yes.
not actually even like a fully purple crystal. It's a purple aura emanating from like you a purple top, but the rest of
Mhm.
it is quartz so that it can be
Mhm.
impregnated with any
With
energy.
all
Uh,
colors, yes.
yeah, yeah.
All
So it's
potential.
really magical. Um, so yeah, do you want to go into the forest? Because it can be presented to people there. But I was waiting in the waiting room today and focusing on this and focusing on
So you
the
know what
nice
a purple crystal means? It's often
Spiritual
uh,
connection
associated with spiritual healing,
and
emotional
violet
balance,
transmutation,
and enhancing intuition. Yeah.
and also transmutation.
They're also
mm,
believed to
Fine,
promote
fine.
calmness, creativity, and deeper connection to one's higher self, particularly through the crown and the third eye chakra.
Mhm.
And I found it really interesting, and I find it so amazing that Trina's picked up on it and synchronistically has the right crystal right there, that it is quartz clear on the bottom and the purple on the top. So it really is that intuitive
I could see it. I
answer
could,
dice.
yeah.
It
And not
that
only that, remember Wayne's vision about when he went and he collected his white stone
yes,
and then
yes,
he brought it back up into his higher dimensional, one of the other
yeah.
existences, realities. Um, I was retrieving my crystal this week. I've done this before and I've gone through this a few times and I go to this place where there's a crystalline, it's like a cavern with tons of beautiful crystals, but they're all connected to one of us. So like
Yeah.
Wayne collected a seed, I was collecting and working with my crystal and anchoring it in places for safety, for connection.
You were
Um,
spirit gardening.
yeah, yeah, that's a great word.
You
That's a
were
great word.
spirit
I
gardening.
like that.
Yeah. So, and I was watching, we were building a new grid with our crystals.
Yes. Yes.
So it was beautiful what I was seeing. And then you were mentioning the first thing you said. I was like, wow, you're in my brain
Which
again, Jenny.
I love it
which
in there.
Master General said, "Remember the Dark Crystal?" Yeah, that was an interesting
Yeah.
uh, movie. It
Oh
was.
yeah.
If you ever get the
Yeah.
chance,
And
watch it
very,
again.
very adept. That was a very adept
Mm.
I got
series.
it on DVD, and it's
Yeah.
like that is some heavy stuff. You look at it, whoever wrote that, they knew something. I swear that they had to be a master, and were just kind of let the neophytes just take a peek. Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like it was somebody who'd been involved in it from a young age, like a lot of people are, that I felt like it was more of an unveiling, the dark crystal, it can be used for whatever purpose, but I did
Mhm.
feel from the writer's perspective, it was more of a let this out there kind of thing, in a way that's digestible.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
By the way, before we head into the fourth, so got some several good emails on the hypothesis that there is a race of, you can say that they're human. They may not be like all other humans that actually have existed for thousands and thousands of years. Jenny, I saw your comment on how they take substance through blood.
Oh, for
Yes.
yesterday's video. Yeah, yeah. Well, I've always said the Holy Grail is an infinite multiple thing that can be applied to a lot of different magical or alchemical scientific, spiritual processes. So I've seen it in visions where blood's being dropped onto to a wheel, a stone wheel, and all of a sudden that wheel started turning. Something was awakened by the right drop of blood being put on the right apparatus. So I swear that they know that the records are all in the blood in
You know what
every
that's
single.
called, Jenny? That's
What's
earth
it?
and technology, and it is activated by the blood, the DNA.
Right.
You're
So
absolutely,
that
that's
that was it.
awesome.
It was like
Yeah,
a wheel, but you so
yeah.
that would make sense to me from the vision I had from where I sort of astral projected to, in that it was then many wheels were turning, and it was a mechanism. It
Mhm.
was a mechanism that was initially awoken by a code in the blood, and I can't say how. I just know that the practices like that are emanating towards the bigger practices. World War II, I think that was a lot of the expeditions on all countries' sides that were involved searching for processes and mechanics that they could use with certain grails, certain holy grails. So yeah, that was really interesting what you did yesterday.
Well, it's interesting. Someone wrote me an email and said that there have been callings before, and she was saying that this whole idea of about a race of beings who have really basically have orchestrated the whole show for us
Yes.
mere mortals. We're here for a
Yes.
short period of time, and they have created this realm, and it's truly, and they're not, the myth goes that, they can't be in sunlight. Yes, they can. I mean,
Mhm.
they've been here for a very long time. But
They don't prefer it, but yes, they
yeah,
can.
and she finished it and she says, could you imagine now with all the messing with geneticists are doing now to our bodies, to the human physical body, uh, that has to have an effect on them too. They would almost need to have a source maybe of essence that would not necessarily be contaminated with
Mhm.
modern man's inventions.
And it's the opposite. It's the opposite. They need to lower the vibration of the human vessel so they can enter into it. If you're vibrating too high, they can't play. They can't. It's kind of like an opera singer sings at a glass and it explodes. If the
Hmm.
vibration is too high, they can't even get near it. So this is why our lifespan has been brought down. Our brain capacity is only at 10%. All of these things have been done because, oh, smack, if you unlock what you really are, they know they have nowhere to go.
And if we'd
Well,
still had a 300-year cycle, they wouldn't have ever been able to have this continuous hijack that you asked a question, Wayne, yesterday.
Oh,
I really feel, and I've said it on my videos years ago, that this hijack wasn't that long ago. I know so
I
many of
get
the
the sense
personal
of that.
writings, 1700s, 1600s, I feel was the mass takeover
I
of
do too.
man-made
One of them,
religion.
yeah.
I think it was that early that the one that the cycle that we've sort of been dealing with and allowing to develop and envelop and root. I feel it was only about the 1600s, latter 1600s to 1700s, and that would make sense to me to the artwork that I know that we have in our castles in this country. They knew they weren't of one God. They knew they weren't depicting yet. So I do feel, and that was about the 1600s,
Mhm.
1700s,
Mhm.
majorly on this land. I don't feel, so if we did still have that 300-year telomere, then we would still be hearing stories from us to the likes of Theo that would say, no, they haven't been, it doesn't have to just be this way. This isn't what humans really are capable of or
Yeah.
conscious of. They wouldn't be able, they need us to have the short-term memory, the short-term
What
life, so
if?
that we pass
What
down.
if these immortals is a name I like to use for them, the immortals, because there's different ways to become an immortal. But the immortals have extensive lifespans. So, what if, just speculating, what if the original takeover of this quadrant of creation happened about 250,000 years ago with new leadership? And we're entering now a closing of that massive cycle and entering into a new one, which will require a new level and new group of leadership. When you change a major age on 3 clocks, remember you said you kept seeing all the different wheels? That's what
Yes,
I
yeah,
see. And three wheels
yeah,
are resetting. This is a
that would
massive
make sense.
reset. Yeah. So within that, the consciousness is going to shift and vibrations are going to shift. And I think that's why they're trying to get rid of the sun and, light, high vibration. These things are very harmful for people that have a hard time with higher vibration. So this is literally what we're dealing with right now. That's why it's going to be so important for everybody to be freaked out, afraid, systems collapsing, all the stuff's going to be happening on purpose. So. This is it's going to get real with the mind real quick.
You know,
Yeah.
yesterday, as the focus that was, and I happen to agree with you, I think, as well, Jenny, is that when did this mind virus, when did this entity enter in and completely remove the divine feminine? We are in a circle where it's naturally assumed that people have an understanding of and maybe I'm assuming too much of what actually a feminine, divine feminine actually is, but taken to the next step as a goddess of creation. So
We don't fully know.
most
Yeah.
people do not know, and it's very foreign to them. I know people at the grocery store where I go, and so they know who I am now. And I ask the question, well, why is it only the masculine? Why is it always the patriarchal? I said, why is the Pope not a woman?
I think that's what it was. It was the installation of these religions and the patriarchal systems. Because the ancient ones, even the indigenous, they always know about the mother. Just like the Native Americans, they know Father
The mother's
Sky,
name.
Mother Earth. Yeah, they've always
But
known.
even their societies was male dominant. Yeah, a squaw, which could be taken as a bride, was still delegated to the menial task and the subjugation to the man.
No, the grandmother was the highest
Mm,
rank of the, yeah, grandmother was the highest rank of the whole Native American cultures. Yeah.
mm.
And they perch an eagle upon her roof. She's the only one that has the eagle. It's grandmother. No, the matriarch is the system of the Native Americans. It always has been. It's not patriarchal at all.
I think there could be debate on that, but
Well,
anyway.
the ones in Arizona in the Four Corners
Yeah, but
area,
the Native
they
Americans
do.
were of a diverse culture and society that go
Yeah,
back
I'm saying for
thousands of
my area,
years.
I know
But
it's true for
yeah.
my area. I got to go to the Third Mesa and the Hopis, and it's amazing, and it's matriarchal for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
That's good. Yeah, I see it
Hmm.
as maybe a little different, but it that's why we're here. We don't have to necessarily always agree,
Hmm.
but yeah. But if we, it's not to say that there aren't exceptions and pockets, but it cannot take away that the vast majority of humans do not see it that way.
Hmm.
They see
It's
it
true.
as patriarchal. They see it as
Father God.
monotheistic.
Mhm.
God is represented for the vast, well, 5 billion plus as a male entity. Well, so is,
Mhm.
Allah. So
Mhm.
is Jehovah, Yahweh.
Mhm.
It's never in Christianity, it's never the mother, it's the father, the son. And then people try to screw with it and say, yeah, but the Holy Spirit is representation of the feminine. No, that's wrong. Well, back in Bible school, we would say that's bad theology. It's not represented there. It never has been represented there.
Yeah.
And with Paul with his gospel, even cemented that in First Corinthians when he said that the place of the woman was to be on the opposite side of the men, and they were to have no voice, and only a married woman could ask her husband if she had a question. And all
Yeah.
were to cover their heads as a sign of subjugation to the male. That's all I'm
And
saying.
you know how it's all completely man-made because you can pick it apart within seconds from what you've just said there, in that, okay, so the theology or the message has been across the board, especially through religion and politics, has been patriarchy. yet they have the same sort of schisms and sayings and rules about we can't look at a female form in this form. You know, a dress has to be down to this length because a woman is with her wisely ways could trick you into something that you don't think of men. So they say on one hand the men are the superior, but it's a cognitive dissonance immediately for both men and women in the congregation because the men are thinking, oh, these wise women that can trick me with a look at the ankle, you know, but then on the other hand, they're being told these women can do nothing for you other than serve you and listen to everything you say. It's a cognitive dissonance on both sides. So by stripping the female of the space that she dwells in and the space that the divine masculine male can excel in and explore in, they take away the rug from both immediately with that one cognitive dissonance, telling them that the woman is all powerful in ways that they can be tricked without even knowing they're being tricked into a love spell or somewhere that, you know, they would go and do something that they would have never dreamt of before. But then at the same time, the woman has to just feed them and look after them.
I
So
knew
it's
Joyce Myers back in the day when she was first starting her ministry. She had a home ministry on, I think it was Tuesdays afternoons in her house, and it quickly began to grow. And then I was there at the very beginning, when her message was starting to resonate with other women.
yeah,
And she eventually grew to have the world's largest women's ministry that was out there. But her whole thing was that she saw the imbalance. And it was
Hmm.
a difficult thing to walk within, the Christian theology, with the woman assuming the position of the pulpit. But,
yeah, that would,
you know,
She broke some big ground.
she really
That's a
did. You
powerful
know,
woman. Yeah,
Yeah, I know
powerful.
Paula White as well, and Paula White
Mm.
is now President Trump's head spiritual the guru or whatever they
You know, I
had.
wonder if this has always been just part of the way that they divide us. You know, they run us for like 25,000 years with divine feminine, and then they run us for 25,000 years with divine masculine. And, you know, it's part of the flipping and the flopping of the polarities in the system. I wonder that a lot because we know that there's both. And I think
Yeah,
it's
I
starting to
think it's
come back.
insane. No matter the fact that we even have these conversations, because it's true. This is how society is,
Hmm.
even in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Um, you
I think
know,
it's starting to shift though, but it's
it
so
is. When I was
imbalanced
CEO,
and filled with rage and confusion, and it's just got a lot of issues. But I do see the feminine is really starting to come back into power, and I do see that there's being a pushback with that.
most of my senior C-level executives were women,
Hmm.
but I was in a creative industry,
Hmm.
and I can just tell you this that I would be far more inclined to trust a woman's recommendation than a man's.
Hmm.
What I found with
Interesting.
women, and this is just me in my experience, I was the president and CEO, but they were more loyal to me than the male counterparts.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And here I am now 30 years later, advocating now for the divine feminine to begin to emerge into society, into our modern day culture, and restore her for where she is. If anything, she should bring balance, maybe not in the beginning, but I think eventually that balance could be achieved.
You know, I think she's the epiphany of empathy. And this is what we're missing. You know, people are becoming so cold and just, you know, they just, it's just numb. The compassion,
Nihilist.
the empathy, the maternal, you know, protective qualities of, you know,
Hmm.
fertility, abundance, beautiful food, all these things our food's being attacked, our skies are being attacked, our fertility's being attacked. Everything
Oh
has been a
yeah.
mess. It's like, yeah, we need some
But Easter
balance.
was initially
Bad.
a fertility rite. It
Yes.
was a pagan holiday, and now
Yes.
they've converted it. And so that is that flip, that yin, that yang, I guess, which I still say is insanity.
It
But
is.
now it's viewed as, well, the Christians, they had to take something. They took everything else.
Mhm.
Christmas is Saturnalia.
Yes.
All of their high holy days were taken from the pagans. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, Esther, she is the goddess of fertility.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And you
Ishtar.
can't have fertility unless you have sex,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's how it works here.
at
Most,
least I think that's how it
the
works.
natural way, like you could take away all the technology and that was still going on all on its own, just
Like,
perfectly. So
no,
yeah,
no, no, it's an immaculate conception thing, Steiger. Don't you get it?
I think that's technology.
Yeah, it's like, so would that be in vitro insemination?
I would think it would be. Yes.
I mean, if you want to apply to the story that the story happened, well,
Well,
then the
how would you do that?
technology, that's
To
how exactly.
manipulate,
How would you do
yeah, to
that?
splice DNA, that you're going to have to do that at the zygote phase. So that's going to still be in the cell. So you're going to have to modify that in the cell level. So they're going to be doing that in a lab with the petri dish, trying to get things to bond. And that could be the fused number 2 chromosome.
Yeah, I think so. And what a
Yeah,
boring way to be pregnant. I mean, come
right.
on. Out all of the
Yeah.
fun.
I was hearing
And
Um,
something
think
very
about it.
weird in my headphone. That's why I was
I saw that.
it.
I was like,
Yeah,
what's going on, Wayne? What's going on?
it was it was female, but it was undistinguishable. That was
Hmm,
weird. You saw me looking.
interesting.
I'm trying to go, well, is that just in my headphones
But
or
I
what's
think,
going on?
Wayne,
Huh?
there's somebody,
I think women are so powerful because we're portals.
Oh, there's
And
listen. I
yeah,
think, yeah, I mean that's
so they
exactly
can
it. Yeah.
take different beings and bring those into us through our eggs and impregnate our eggs. So
Listen,
this is what I've seen. It's crazy. So yeah, so they want control and ownership over that because what's the greatest battle for blood and genetics?
and it's always someone I've seen in the comment section saying, "Well, where are the female angels? They don't exist." Now, they
I've
will
seen
tell
one.
you all I know is that through my school and
Literature.
training,
Yeah.
I have there is no the mention of a female angels is a modern day injection of the interpretation. Um, but and that's for everyone to pick and choose because you did not, it's odd if you go by the myth that there were these 200 uh, extraterrestrial beings that
Mhm.
came to Earth and, began to rape the women. And anyway, we've been through that. But you never hear of a female angel. And there is no female angels around the throne of God. They are not in the
That's
24
that's
elders.
I think they're liars on
Well, I'm
trying to
just simply saying what
yeah,
what the Bible says.
I know, but I don't believe that because it when I looked at that with my consciousness, I said, show me what the throne would be. And literally, it was showing me the 12 cranial nerves in the brain, how they're dual in the hemispheres of the mind, and one is feminine and one is masculine. So there's 12 female and there's 12 male that make the 24 elders of your consciousness, of your hemispheres, of your dual mind. That's what they showed me.
And I get that, but Bible students, it's not painted that way. That
I
heaven,
know.
the throne, is an actual physical place. We
Mhm,
have that because we had the Holy of Holies, which was representation of what the showbread was apparently in
mhm,
heaven.
mhm.
But and I just refer to the book of Revelation as well, in the book of Daniel, where it never says there is a woman. In fact, in Islam, the belief is that women do not go to heaven.
Mhm. Hmm.
And
Not their heaven.
in Judaism, there is no heaven because the Jews have been their promise is the inheritance of the earth.
That's what I
I'm
mean. It's
telling you
all
what the
beliefs. Yeah,
narrative says. That's all.
people believe so many different things, and these religions are very old. So,
Yeah, I mean,
they've been beat into the programs of the mind, and they're real, and they are valid
yeah,
belief
and the source
systems.
of that
Yeah.
is, the King James Bible. I mean,
Hmm.
all commentaries are written from the King James Bible, and which now that I'm on the other side, I've had a number of requests, and I'm probably going to do it. I'm probably going to do a show. People want to know why I left Christianity. I was
Oh.
so deeply involved into it. But the point that I'm trying to point out here is that prior to that, there had to be something else. And that's what I began to see that, wait a minute,
Hmm.
this doesn't make any sense anymore.
Hmm.
Jenny, you're
Yeah.
awfully quiet, dear. You're
I'm
you're
just
you're reading the
listening, and
comments.
I'm reading some of the comments as best I can. But the religion, it's a virus. It's a control mechanism. It's grounded only um in the point of stories that fit into a narrative of up and below in hierarchy.
Hmm.
But also it they do, they always piggyback on something that is real. So like the geometry that Trina mentioned when you mentioned about the throne, it is geometry. These characters are all geometry. The 200 angels, that was the duality of the two different species, the two pillars, the zero and the zero, the two beginnings, the new breed. It's all geometry. So it works in our mindset because it actually, to an extent, makes a lot of sense. But we do get stuck in the weeds so much, and that's deliberate, of the hijack, the piggyback that they've actually put on these very real, very spiritual truths. So yeah, it is, and it needs to stop. It just does. I call BS and I call time on me having any time for not saying that if I was to see a poison in my garden, I would want to act on it at this point. I wouldn't want to be saying, you know what, it's a belief system. If any belief system infringes on another person's rights to move freely in this bodily experience animated by their spirit, then bullshit. It's not natural. It's not real. It's made up from your wills and your wants, and that is it. And what's worse is that people are still following the wills and the wants of people that they'll never meet and wouldn't even put them out if they were on fire. So it's we've got to get very mature at this point about a poison that isn't that old. It's just piggybacked itself on infinite truths.
See, where
That's
I
what I was
live,
thinking.
Jenny, it's actually even on the radio, they actually say this, that people here are Bible toting, gun toting, Trump's believers. And it's part of the Bible Belt, and it is the thing that permeates everyone's thinking.
Yeah,
And if they heard us, now we do have a couple of witches in the community, which is kind of cool. And because it shows that there is at least a monicum of a opening. But for the vast majority, and they couldn't define God to you. They would just simply, I believe in the God of the Bible.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. All the politicians say that, and then they
Hmm.
lie like the devil.
And then they
Yeah.
try and say church and state is separate,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the contradiction and
Yeah.
the
Remember, Trump said that he was spared by God.
that wasn't a mistake. It's
You know,
algorithmic. It's
that's
algorithmic.
exactly what he said, and he's on a mission to fulfill whatever God's mission is. I don't know how to define that. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what
So
does that
it's
Might be
mean?
the one of the Bible.
Yeah. You know, and then Latin Vulgate is my point, you know, is that everyone, but when I tell people really the first Bible was the Latin Vulgate, you know, it had the Maccabees in it. It had, you know, a number of now, which is called, you know, the pseudo-apocrypha. Yeah.
You
And
know, my
that's part of
favorite
it.
My favorite, because I didn't have a lot of exposure to, dogma religion as a child. I had more of just a believe in God, We didn't go to church or anything, so I wasn't force fed any of that. So I was very open to just what I received. And being a little kid playing in the desert, most of that was more,
Yeah.
nature
And you
and
would be the
animals.
oddity, the rarity, you know.
Right. And
Yeah.
then,
And
then I learned about the dogma and I really dove into the Bible and started studying all that. And it never resonated. And I couldn't figure out why. But then, when I found the Nag Hammadi scriptures, that was it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is something I knew in my soul. So I must have been a part of that at some time, which I was. I've seen a past life memory where, yep, that's what I was doing. So that has not been altered by the powers that be, and it was buried and hidden for a reason. So when I look at that, I think if you're really looking for potential truths, it might be starting with the things that they did not write.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's considered to be heretical in the
Of
fact
course,
that
because they didn't write it.
yeah, I mean, you know, and then you could also apply the same thing, you know, with George Smith in 1880, what was it, three, four, when he first discovered the first tablets of the Sumerians. The
Mhm.
world had never knew that. I contend that if the world had known about the Sumerian culture, you'd never have a Bible.
exactly.
Point. That's what I mean. There's so much that's
There, you
way
know,
older. Yeah.
yeah. And
And
you would
their
find out
religions,
that it's Enki all along, or Enyo, excuse
yes.
me, you know.
Wayne, that's the 250,000 year thing I think we might really be looking
It's
at.
like,
It might
geez,
be those dudes for
seems
real.
like there's a lot of that.
There's so much evidence showing up, and it wouldn't be showing
Mm.
up if we weren't ready for it. And that's going to change what we think about our history.
And it's
And
discussions like this that begin to
yeah,
advance that. I
I
mean,
really
people,
do.
you
I've
know,
been thinking about that a lot. I'm like, oh my gosh. And they say their kid was Marduk, who they say was the leader of everything. The true leader of our worlds are not in public sight. You'll never know who those people were. And they're saying that's who's been running things for the past 7,000 years. Marduk.
and I often think about, and then that
Who
goes
knows?
with the Anunnaki Chronicles, that
That's
Tiamat,
his kid.
you know,
Yeah.
and Tiamat was sacrificed, and, it was said that her spirit is the one that came here,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. That makes so much sense to me.
I know.
I could see that as a very
It's
strong.
wonderful because when I get off the air like this and I'm going to go back out and I'll be working in the sunshine and that just digging nature around, I'll have these thoughts of this conversation and going, every time we alter the vibration of the narrative, it's that ripple.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's why we continue to do what we do. And before we get
Mhm.
too far, Jenny, we need to go to the forest. You
Yeah.
Yeah.
saw the crystal purple. I don't think that you actually ever had time of, telling us more about the crystal. And I
Okay.
apologize for that, sweetie,
Be silly. I love it. I love a tangent. You know that the so
because
in
we
the
never
wait
get
in
on a tangent here.
no, 100%.
Never.
So in the waiting
And we
room, I
never
was
laugh.
Right.
no serious all of the
I
time.
get
Uh,
serious. I can't be serious now. It's like,
uh, no, I
Oh,
find that
bother.
every time.
all right, Jenny,
Um,
I'm going to mute my mic. Go, girl.
you knows how to play me with that one. So in the waiting room, I was focusing in on you guys and everybody here and just tonight and um, positivity. So I went into the forest and I was drawn right to the center of it and I kept feeling the resonance, knowing that like a sonar through the feet, recognizing that I was coming into middle point, the exact middle ground. And in this middle ground, the messages that were coming forward from it is that this is a space of absolute, it's a layaway, it's a middle ground, even within the forest of impenetrable protection, and a precision around its auric field of who enters there is in a safe space to completely let go and relax and be safe in all layers of being in the forest. So I look to this crystal, and it's growing out of the ground like the root of a tree. And it's very like the crystal that Trina amazingly had to hand. As I described it, she picks that crystal up, and it's like a giant form of that. So I've shrunk down to 5'2". It wasn't that much smaller than me in height, but I knew I could feel the resonance of it underneath too. And I thought, this is just magnificent. This is rooted in ethereal realms, the spaces that are so deep. And so I realized that that's the anchor point. So for anybody wanting to visit and be in deep meditation or be in the forest in a space of their own consciousness only, they can go there even if they're surrounded by the rest of us, and be in complete communion with self in a absolute loving, embracing, and protective way. So I saw us all go into this crystal. I wrote some things down while I was sitting there in hospital. So yeah, I'd love to for people to see it. But the synchronicity of Trina having that crystal, and to be honest, it got me through. Today, I kept seeing the crystal as I was lying there waiting, to have the procedure, and absolute peace, from emanating from the aura of this thing. So it's magnificent. Um, it's beautiful. It took my breath away a bit. So yeah, that's what's waiting. But that's been growing, and emerging from people going there and harvesting, and planting, and being in that space. The crystal's been drawn up from that energy. It's been attracted to that energy. So yeah, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to breathe in wholeness, exhale any tension. Continue on that track, breathing in wholeness, oneness, releasing any tension. Take a moment to feel the energies around you, within all of us, emanating off one another. I'd like you all to visualize a yellow frequency light in the solar plexus area. Feel it emitting from within, that inner sun becoming stronger and stronger, dappling on the walls of your skin. As it breaks through your skin, let us all feel the warmth and the joy and the growth of this inner sun that we all carry. With this in mind, we start to walk forward towards our forest, our own inner sun lighting the way, connecting into one giant, magnificent sun. As we reach the forest wall, I'd like you to take in how much bigger the forest wall, a living wall for us to enter into, as our sun dapples on the leaves of this forest wall. It recognizes us, our identity being spoken into the forest. The walls open up like a womb, inviting you in, all walking together, feeling the emanating warmth from each other, feeling the welcoming breeze that comes through us, that touches our skin from this forest, our enchanted forest. Feel leaves deliberately drop from the branches onto your hair. Feel blossoms deliberately fall into your hand as you walk together. Just to be one with you, just to touch you, just to be in that wholeness with you. As we go forward, I'd like you to perceive everything the forest has for you to perceive today. Just observe it, feel it. Feel the joy and acceptance of our space. Feel everything fold and move to touch you, to be at one with you. As we gain ground and come into the center space that's made itself aware to us, allow your senses to awaken by all the scents, the pine, the cedar, invigorating every portal of your being. Experience cooling mist coming from the moss. And I'd like you all at this point to close your third eyesight. See only with feeling. See only with energy. Allow me to guide you with trust just a little way forward. Now I'd like you to open your eyes. Behold the crystal that marks the center point of our forest. Feel yourself with silver tendrils, roots coming from your feet and from the base of your spine, rooting you in a circle to the spot around this beautiful area. Feel the force of nature flowing through you like lightning, building and building in your chest area. As you feel this, hold your hands out to this giant, beautiful crystal. Allow the energy that flows from the floor through your body to flow through your hands to the crystal. Feel the force that we all channel that energy and program this crystal with our divine codes. Take a deep breath in. Feel this force bounce back to you, magnified tenfold. Restoring energies wash over you, renewing your cells. A bounty of properties, ethereal and physical, endow your being. Messages sit for later transmutation. We give thanks. We feel the love of one another emanating from this crystal, a true mirror of what we feel and who we are. Take a deep cleansing breath in. Take this force with you as you leave the forest. Let it be with you for the rest of the week. Let you feel yourself be pushed forward. Be insightful with this force that you now have within you. Another deep breath in and open your eyes. Wholeness, everybody.
Well, I found that to be adventurous.
Good.
Yeah, I find it was interesting. This time I found myself actually flying above the forest.
Wow.
And I wrote this down. There's a shining wall. It shimmers. And I saw people walking through. Best thing I could say, I wrote down, it's like a force field, but walking through the shimmering wall and they enter into the forest.
Yes.
And yeah, what happened to Trina?
I don't know. I think she went into the forest too deep. She's still with that crystal. I don't know where she went.
I saw the crystal too. It was interesting because I saw it from above. Anyway, there is
What did it look like above? Did you see any sort of energetic grid or
let me tell you how I saw it. I can actually describe it. Um, there is what I was seeing was a very large crystal in the center, but there were, you could call it smaller sprigs or
Yes,
crystals coming out of
like of
this
crystal.
ground. It kind of sits like it would almost like the plant would sit on top of a ground, but it's
Yeah.
deep. It goes, yeah. So
Now you see what you've just drawn. It's so like what I've seen, and what is there. There's literal stones that have been on the ground, covered
yeah,
with moss around the outer edge of it. It's been crowned by the forest. So that's really accurate to what I've envisaged today. Really good. Amazing.
it was. So I was pretty lost in that. In fact, I didn't even hear your voice. It was like, this was, but
Good.
there's this, and as I said, there's this, it's a force field. It extends around and it's a given area. So it's very interesting.
That makes sense to it feeling like a very protected area that has
Hmm.
developed so much so it's sacred. You can feel that it's a sacred circle, it's a sacred space as you go towards that. And it's all sacred, but it's the heartbeat, it feels like it's the heartbeat of the forest. It's that middle space that
It's
is very
interesting. Barbara Burns said that's exactly what she saw.
wow, Barbara. See?
So interesting. Um, hmm. Very distinct, and it's big. It is. It's
Huge.
yeah. It's yeah. It really is.
It's huge. You see that space that today at the hospital, that space that was able, there's Trina, that
There
was
she
able to
is.
present itself to me in a time like nobody likes hospitals or procedures. That the sanctuary of it all, that's where belief and knowing and faith should take you. It should take you to a space where you're able to be truly naked with self and reflect back on self and not feel judgment, not feel, but to have true and complete wholeness and healing because you're able to be free. And what we have today is a lot of people without those freedoms fighting for the freedoms of something that limits their freedoms, uh, that are now in such fear of that nakedness, of that sacred space, of where you can see the authentic raw you and see the authentic raw Wayne and Trina right next to you. To really, people are afraid of that. But they've been made to feel afraid of that because it feels far too welcoming and organic.
And isn't it
For
odd? All ghosts wear clothes. I've never seen a naked ghost.
well, yeah,
I
I've
was
sort of that, but that
injecting
was
that as a little like, that's a little humor because
yeah,
most people don't like looking at their bodies.
that's true.
It is true. We are so overcritical, over judgmental, and sometimes, yeah, and it's odd because it would then extend that would carry over to the next realm when we leave these bodies behind. If we were uncomfortable with ourselves being naked in public, we'd be uncomfortable being naked in the other side.
Which is why there is a space for naked rituals. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm exactly. So Trina, what happened, dear?
I don't know. I got
She
She's
froze
that
up.
forest. She's in that forest in spirit.
I
Telling
think
you.
the energy was like, just blowing out the circuit, so to speak. Uh,
Mm.
Joyce says, my naked body in the mirror begs for moisturizer.
Oh, I'd rub you, Joyce.
Well, it's true. I mean, is Trina and I were talking before we went live. Growing old is not for wussies.
No.
If you're going to be
No.
growing, getting longer in life, you just think you started fighting. You got a battle ahead of you that, you know, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
it's
woo.
true. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's interesting because, Lynn deals with death, and there's been a lot of people dying lately. Um, they actually had one person that died, and no one knew about it until like 12 hours later, and the person was rigor mortis had set in. They were sitting up, but anyway, I digress. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, and it seems like there's just a lot of people leaving this realm. I don't know.
No. And
Yeah.
I back to carefully that video that you did a while ago now, where you set out all of the dates for certain things, and then certain other things came after that, rapture type things came after that. And you correlated that so well. That's a video that people should look back on when they're starting to question the reality, because it truly augmented, and I think we're going to
Mhm.
see an increase on that.
We're going to pursue that book on, that the latest reset was 1764, I think is the date.
There you go, 1700s again. I keep
Yeah.
getting that. And they're doing the playbook by 17 and 7. They're using 17 and 7 in numerologically in so much of the spell work right now.
Yeah.
It's around all of the politicians in this country, all of the politicians in your country. It's around a lot of other countries that mimic our countries. They're using that numerology that would ground them in the 1700s.
I just got to tell you, I just get the sense that there is something occultish. I mean, I can I can lay my finger on it inside my spirit, but this is, and it's probably because we expose ourselves to a lot of different gnosis, and we open our minds to many different possibilities. But my God, I mean, this whole thing with the hate, and it is. I did a little experiment last night. I went out and I watched a couple of news channels that I just don't do. Something led me there. And within, ladies, this is no expanding out on it. Lynn was sitting on this side of the living room, and I was over here, and we both looked at each other, and she says, "Can you feel that?"
Emanating from the, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's my wife and I, and we weren't 10 minutes into this, and she looked at me, she says, "Can you feel this?" "I can feel this." She said, "It's bringing anger up within me." And
Yeah.
Now
she says, "Yeah."
I
you
had to
guys
stop
felt,
watching the
can't you?
news.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't go, but we went, I said, I got to see a couple of the channels in the same
Yeah.
thing. God, I mean, folks, it was almost like, I know witchcraft. I know what it is to cast a spell. I know, done it. In fact, most of my Christian life, that's what Christians do. You cast
Yeah.
spells. And I am fucking good at it. I mean, I am
Yeah.
really good at it. And so I'm acutely aware when I see it being thrown back on me. And man,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I got. And that's why it led today. I said, we got to talk about this because this thing, and it was hatred. And then it was into this dystopia fear. And my lovely wife, she would tell you, I'm the master in the subject matter here, but she was the first one said I can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's why I said that
I
the
still feel
mind.
dirty, and I took a
Yeah.
shower already.
you've been in the forest. You good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing, Wayne, is the mind thing's going to get real intense real quick with the fear. They've got to drop the vibration. It's
Mm.
desperate now. I'm feeling get ready, and it's all a show. So we need to be calm. We need to stay relaxed. We need to know that we can control what's happening as much as they can, only if we would just believe it. And that's where most people are stuck. They're waiting for a savior, and they will not understand that if it's going to be through us.
What
There's
was it that
no
Emerson,
other
Lake and
way.
Palmer said? Welcome to the show that never ends.
Correct.
It never
And I
freaking
like six.
ends.
Welcome to the grand illusion. Come on in and see what's happening.
You see, I love you. See, this is what makes this show what it is. I tell you, one day
Yeah.
they may want to syndicate us, but yeah.
Mm. And you know
Get your
what
ticket
Trina
for the show.
said? Would,
Cindy's doing my Vedic chart, and
Oh,
oh,
I'm going to get a hold of her.
really?
I want to do that too.
yeah.
I
Want
love
to
them.
do
They're
Yeah.
wonderful.
We're talking about Mike and Cindy over there at Evolutionary Healing Arts, and
Yeah.
we love them. And yeah, and so there's this fame thing that's still hanging in my house, you know. So I think I'm a
wow.
Pisces. Is it a Pisces or Aries rising? One of the two. I think
Oh, I would bet. Oh, God,
it's
it could be
Aries.
either
Aries
one.
rising.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, but your fire, I would say it ram.
And in and it's like Gemini in the third house. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
we got together on Friday and she's still working on it. But I was blown away because you know when you get a little older, right? So when
Yeah.
you have a chart done on you, you have your past. You've already, you know, your life experience. It's
Yeah.
all gone. I mean,
Yeah.
eerily weird how the
Mhm.
planets and the stars and the position. Yeah, there's something to it. That's all I got to say.
It is
And she has to
powerful.
start with your entry point. She just has to start with your entry point and then
Yep.
do that magical alchemical
Mhm.
brain stuff that she'll do to then go from that space forward to plot your path. It's so it's a skill set that is
It showed that I
underrated.
would be separated from my mother, showed that I would be separated from family. It showed that I would have the propensity for public speaking, being um, an enigmatic leader, you know.
When are you going to start that way? I mean, come on. When are you going to get
Just
on with
watch out,
that
girl.
one?
That's all I got to
Yeah.
say. Watch out.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Ain't seen
Here,
nothing
hold my
yet.
beer, you know.
Yeah. Hold my beer.
I'll get your coat too.
Ah, they see
That'll
that's
pop
what
you
it's all
on.
about. You know, I love it. See, folks, we practice what we say here, you know, because laughter doeth the heart is good
Yeah.
medicine. I mean, it's that
Yeah.
that cracked me up. Um,
When
Mhm.
I see in the gods, I keep hearing this as we're speaking. Where are the gods? Where are the goddesses? Well, we're here, but also
Yeah.
we're infinitely surrounding us. And to be honest, there is no such in my, and this doesn't go down well in the pagan world that likes to say I'm theirs as well, in that the gods don't want anything to do with anybody that's going to worship them and sacrifice them on a cross around their neck. If you talk about, aliens coming to help, gods, goddesses coming to help, I can see them saying, "Ooh, we're going to have to send some entities down there first to rebalance and recalibrate this shit because I'm not walking into that saloon and being
Right.
left on the edge of a cross, oh, thanks, you love me. I'll just leave you there. No, really? They're the
Right.
gods, the goddesses are. They want nothing to do with the hijack that is
Mhm.
worship. That
Yeah.
anything you watch it over and over again. You see it with politicians, and we're going to see that real soon, where the people have been seeing them as saviors outside of self, and all of a sudden they're changing the script to go against the very thing, and that's happening all over the place. And so now they're like, hold on a minute, they'll be ready to sacrifice politicians on a cross, metaphorically so. You
Maybe
know,
not. Maybe
yeah,
literally.
but I'm not encouraging
It's like,
anything.
geez. So,
But so that's what they do. These gods and goddess energies don't recognize adepthood when that adepthood is trying to approach them with worship and with begging. There's
Yeah.
no to approach anything, a plant to say, please heal me. The plant's gonna say, you what? It doesn't accept that resonance. What it accepts is I receive you into my body. All of my cells are ready to receive the properties that you can bring to me. That's what it'll accept because
Yeah.
you're opening up to it. You're not gonna, sacrifice it for no good reason. So whether the plant essence of gods and goddesses or the etherical essence, if you want to find that god and goddess, you start walking alone and in communication and communion with others. But you walk alone on this path and gather the gnosis, the knowledge, and apply the wisdom. So I keep hearing that a lot as regarding as to where we need to get to in spiritual maturity at this point. Um,
you know what I saw,
to
Jenny? When you said saloon, I saw you wearing a
yeah.
cowboy hat walking into the bar, the swinging gates.
Like, choose the
Give me a
biggest one.
shot of that third eye over there.
Third
Uh,
eye.
all right, everybody. Thank y'all. Yeah, it says we went over, but I really don't care. It's delightful. Um, y'all want to say anything? I mean, before we head out, and Jenny just step right on up to the bar. We'll take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
180 proof, our third eye.
I can dance on the bar in heels. I'm good.
I'll be
I'm
right beside you,
good.
sweetheart. Let's get it on some Coyote Ugly style.
Ooh, okay. Actually, I
Sounds,
saw y'all
so
wearing jeans, but I could see the skirt.
it's like
Oh,
synchronistic.
Coyote Ugly. That's all about the jeans. You gotta see that, Jenny. You might not have seen Coyote Ugly. It's a great movie.
Well, actually, I did only because I worked in a Coyote Ugly bar that we had. It was the first one in Newcastle. So I used to
I
have to
love
dance
it.
in a bikini with the cut out
I
leather
could
top
see that.
Chaps.
and
Yeah,
the hat.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I
you know, Jägermeister was the worst. It was the slippiest. So many a fall was made to look meant to be.
Did you
But
say Jägermeister?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jägermeister,
huh,
yeah,
man, that is some nasty
it's the most
tasting.
awful,
I don't like it
nasty.
either.
I don't like
Mm,
licorice. Ugh, that,
Me neither. Me neither.
yeah.
Nope.
like liquid, that stuff, we sticky chaps.
Jenny, if it probably in another life, I probably would have come up and taken you up on that.
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
would with a enough from the bar,
Well,
I'm
shoot,
sure.
you can do some Goldschlager. It's about the same and it tastes way
It
better.
is, I tell you, yeah.
I just used to line
Just
them up,
just give me the
go with the
tequila, that's all that really matters.
I love a
Oh, no
ball.
tequila for me. Tequila almost killed me.
Okay. All right, everyone. We thank all of you. Tell the ladies you love them, and thank you both. It's just this has been fun. I got my daily laugh in too. I mean, and that was one of those, gut laughs, where it really gets
Yeah.
down to the soul. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Thank you,
good
Jenny.
ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Oh,
know.
you a couple. Well, actually, I paid you back on one already, but
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah, I'll get you
different.
when we're
Right,
off
goes back.
air. All right, everybody, we love you. See you tomorrow. Keep good. Keep the positive vibe of the force going,
Mhm.
and we can begin to cast thousands of ripples, and that's what it takes. All right.
Go forward.